welcome to the 7th Halloween episode of Rigor Mortis Paranormal. Tonight we have an interview with Eli of Ghost City Tours of San Antonio as he discusses haunts of San Antonio and personal experiences. And an interview with Candy of Bell Witch Tours as she fills us in on the Bell Witch hauntings. I am David. This is Robert, Jasmine, Kory, and Ian.
Hello. Hey guys.
Hey. Man, Rob, so Rob got these stories. You interviewed both. Oh, we got some choking.
Only when we start recording.
Ignore it.
They wait for it.
Ignore it. Let him choke.
How's he gonna learn?
Man, yeah, so how'd that go, Rob?
Actually, it was awesome, man. Eli really came through with his San Antonio stories. He had also personal stories that he had down there that were really good. One good thing about these things, and man, you know how we always asking for like
stories?
Well, yeah, always, yeah, but like we're always, yeah. But he had everything. He had ghost stories. He had UFO stories, and really those two are really awesome. Then we talked about cryptids. Believe it or not, Kory, I was screwing around and I asked him like, I said, do you have any more mummy stories? He goes, actually, and I was like, no freaking way. I was playing, and so he talks a little bit about mummies as well. So Eli came through. He had everything. So did Candy. Candy from the Bell Witch Tours. Oh man, awesome story. She's just giving us insight on the history, and she actually owns the main parts of the Bell Witch with a cave, and I believe there was the house or something of that nature.
So it wasn't just a house that was haunted, it was
a cave. They had a lot of and she goes through, man. I mean, she really gives the full story, just the way that we remembered hearing it. But man, it's really awesome coming from somebody who actually lives there. Yeah. There were also other little, I guess, paranormal incidents that she brought up as well. So action-packed, Pee-wee. This is actually going to be a really good one. I love interviewing them, and you guys see for yourself because it's really, really, really good. You're in for a treat, is it?
On Halloween outfit.
Really, yeah. It's true. But yeah, that's what was it, Jess? What are we dressing up in? Be a French maid? And I'm like, oh no, please.
No, but please, sir. Latex smell like straight ass. Like seriously.
How do you know how straight ass smells like?
Yes.
How deep you So I don't know how deep you are in that ass.
Yeah. But yeah, awesome stories, man. And I'm so happy that we're getting another Halloween episode off the ground, man. And man, we've been waiting for this for a while. And our apologies, but we've been trying. We really have been, man, trying to put them back out there and get them going. So yeah, thanks, Eli and Candy.
Yeah, awesome. For sure.
Ian, you had a story, didn't you?
Yeah,
something you were going to share.
Speaking of treats, I think I got tricked the other day or something. I don't know how to put it or something, but okay, let me just start off from the beginning, right?
What were you wearing?
Well, okay, nothing, but I don't know why that matters. No.
What does my nudity have to do with anything, right?
No, okay, so I had some weird dreams. I just was like freaking out. I felt just real uncomfortable.
It's part of growing up.
No, I like nightmares, like borderline nightmares. I got this feeling like something was watching me. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. I was home alone at this time. I went home, went downstairs, and the dogs, man, they just kept like barking and stuff. Like it seemed like nothing. It just was weird. I just got this weird vibe. But I'm like, you know what? Whatever. So I poured myself a bowl of cereal. And I'm just eating the cereal, and the dogs keep barking, and so I let them out, and I'm like, they're barking in like directions they don't normally bark in. You know, I'm like, maybe there's something here, maybe there's something out there. I don't know. So I'm just eating my cereal, watching the dogs bark, and I look down, and the last piece of cereal I got is hanging onto the side of my
Are you serious?
I kid you not.
No bullshit.
You got a picture of it too.
What?
I'm sorry, all of that was a pretext. I was exaggerating. I actually got a picture. Look at this. I sent it to my dad.
Is that frosted mini wheats?
Frosted mini wheats, and it's weird. I don't know how it got lodged in there. I don't think it was anything paranormal. And for
Let me see. I can.
all right, it was a good. It's just because this was like the day after we like re-listened to which you folks are gonna hear eventually. We found some old footage, old recordings of another story, and it's very similar to this.
Yeah, you'll get it, man, because like
I wish I could have gotten through a little bit more because I was gonna like, oh, it jumped off the spoon, but it fell off.
And you looked over there and a gummy bear knocked your ass out, right?
yeah, man, it was awesome to find those too, man, because we have.
Were you scared?
Yeah.
It was fun. I was like,
Did you throw it out? Yeah, throw it to the bird, right? Yeah, I don't want it no more.
Slide into your window.
Like, just knocking on it. You left something. It's in his hand, kept dropping it. Like, I don't want it.
I don't want that piece of cereal.
That's why I switched over to oatmeal, man. And that oat was right at. Oh, God, you gotta hear the story. Awesome story.
Yeah, it's great. So it was fresh on my mind when this happened, and I'm like, oh, next time we sit down to record, I gotta tell everyone about this.
Oh, yeah, man.
Maybe we shouldn't have made fun of that gummy bear.
You know what? Maybe. I don't know, man.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the picture right now. The way he's hanging on. It's like, to try and say that's paranormal is pretty hard, right?
Man, we're reaching now.
I couldn't keep a straight face on.
My grandkids and them, where they go, it's a pretty awesome spot.
We found the chocolates, that's what it is.
Yeah, well, not only that.
It's getting too big now, though.
Yeah, you got people, it's bougie too. You got everybody walking around with the beer in their hand and everything.
And then
I'm there.
They close off one of the streets.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty nice up there. That's pretty cool.
Well, now everybody's starting to know about it.
Yeah, like you see all the poor side of town trying to get them big chocolates, man.
What's up, pecans, Mom?
Nah, I do that. I'll go back to the south side and go do the pecan one.
I know, right?
Yeah,
You're older.
Like, yeah.
Pecans no more. They're fucking acorns and shit.
Now they are, right? No, but like we used to get that for Christmas, like a handful of pecans, and they'd be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
I could have just went in the yard because we had them there."
Yeah, we had pecan trees in our backyard.
I fucking love pecans, man. And I'd be like, I'm thinking about going back, like over there, man, so they can chase me and wearing the French maid. They get out of here, take the whole bag. I was like, let me have the other one too, and I'll be faster. But yeah,
man, you haven't made though, because there'll be like nobody out there, because everybody's gonna be over here on this side of town.
stealing all our chocolates. But man, when we rolled up on one, no bullshit. Mind you, this is like a ritzier part of the neighborhood, an old one, and those houses are real expensive, but man, they're done up right, man. I mean, they're really all remodeled and everything. A bunch of rich people live out there. Tell me if I'm wrong or not. Those houses are so nice that they don't even have curtains on their windows. It's just a window, so you can see how fucking badass the indoors look. Their chandeliers are fucking old, but look at ours. You can see where we're at. Ours is
Bars on the window.
But we went up to one, and the guy had a keg, man. And it was dark beer. I don't know if he was sampling it, but he asked me, man. He's like, you want to try this? I was like, yeah, I do.
You gotta ask me twice. Let me get a chair.
I was like, can we go back to that house? It's weird though. People were, they were rolling up, and then some. I was watching them. I guess, they were doing the right thing, doing the kid thing. Like, no, why would you have beer? I'm like, what are you doing? Like, man, why wouldn't you have a keg? You got all these kids here. I need some beer, man. But like,
you got a sack to put the whole keg inside of it.
It's a liquefied one, right? The whole liquid, right? Trick or treat, let me have some of that. Put that speaker there, put it right there. Take a nigga.
Pull up with a dolly.
Like, dude, I just had a cup. But it is nice. It's gonna be nice, Jess.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the worst thing too, man, because like everybody's in shape, they look good in their costumes. You can tell we're going in.
We're not in that side of town, right?
Yeah, you can tell the ones are from that side of town.
They're all in shape.
But like, I know we're not from that side of town, but when I see somebody else that's not from that side of town, I get so mad.
Yeah, like,
You're stealing our space.
Yeah.
Hey,
we were here first.
You got those plastic grocery bags too.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not gonna say HEB bags, but not everybody knows HEB.
It just says Michoacana.
Michoacana. shall I dare even mention anything about a possibility of a film?
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's in the
Man,
early workings as of now,
it's
but
being written.
Hopefully nobody steals this one.
I know. Yeah. Have you guys seen The Phone?
I saw the first
Black
one.
Phone.
Black
I'm sorry.
Phone, yeah.
Black Phone.
Dude, I love that movie. But seriously, watch The Black Phone and then watch our film, Marianne O'Neill, on YouTube.
Like which one came out first?
And we came out first, though, but there's a lot of similarities. I'm just saying.
It's like a 1-to-1 copy of our.
Yeah, like Ethan Hawke was just taking notes. Just change the music, man. You should be fine. On that bike scene, that's it. Oh yeah,
You got AI. They just got the face on top of the face that we had. It looks all cropped and all that.
No, there's some similarities that were really interesting, actually.
Okay, but the phone was a black phone, wasn't it? And we had was it beige?
No, we had a black phone. It was a dial one, the old, like from the 1920s. Or
Yeah.
I thought ours was the one that's like you press the buttons.
no, well, we had that one too, but that's when that's when they were in the room.
Prank calling or something, right?
Well, they were calling the number. They called it on that
Well,
dial
her phone was Marianne O'Neill's phone was.
Was your one? Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's right. I forgot about it. It was a black phone too.
Yeah, it was. That phone we borrowed from, I was gonna say Magic Mike.
We're supposed to out him.
I meant Halloween Mike. Same difference. Halloween Mike, he's a RN, registered nurse. He's gonna be busy tonight.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Oh geez. I wonder if he had to work, man, on this day too, man. Yeah.
Taking
I'm
candies
sure
out of
he did.
people's butts.
Yeah, you know that blow pop don't go there, right? But I was trying to make bubbles.
So how many licks did it take to get to the center?
Dude, I did that the other day. You know, not the licking pops like that. I looked at this. No.
That was not a good time to come in.
I just thought that.
Man, guys, what do y'all think? Maybe it's time to get into the first story, or?
Yeah. Which one? Which one we doing?
All right, I guess not story. These are interviews. So the first interview, let's do the Ghost City Tours of San Antonio.
Oh yeah, Eli.
Yeah, Eli. There you go.
Good stuff.
We're here today with Eli from Ghost City Tours here in San Antonio. How you doing, Eli?
Hey, so far so good. Glad to be on the show.
Awesome. So happy to have you on. Can you give us a little bit of background and insight on what it is you do and how you got interested in doing things like this?
Well, I'm currently with Ghost City Tours. I work as a lead guide, and that's taking people around to different spots that have activity and telling them the stories and the phenomena that we encounter there. I've done this, since I was 2 years old. My family's done this for generations. And when we talk about the paranormal or the supernatural, I've been involved in this again from a young age. So I always like to say I'm an old soul.
Awesome. So you said you've been at this since you were 2 years old. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Just growing up, when I grew up, we always would talk about stories, things that happened in the family or things people were involved in. I come from a pretty old family in Texas. My great-grandfather was a settler out in West Texas back in the day, and he lived out in what was called Indian country at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was newspaper articles written about this crazy guy that's out there, and he would marry my great-grandmother, and she was Chickasaw. She was Native American.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of the stories, things I have sort of come from that perspective, the Native American perspective. We would talk about shadow figures and fire spirits and orbs and things. And so it's really more of a Native American look at that, but I'm very versed in what we call the craft, the supernatural, and so I understand it, put it that way.
Oh, awesome. Can you give us some of your experiences you've had over the years that you feel comfortable telling us about?
Well, there's quite a bit. I mean, when you talk about things that are supernatural or things that unknown phenomena, some people talk about, UFOs or they tie in aliens. That type of stuff is out there, I will tell you. But we just use the overall term, we would say unexplained phenomena. When you talk about things, people talk about a haunted house or a ghost encounter. We always call those, the house was occupied. That's what we would call it. But I lived in a farmhouse way back when I was a kid. The place was very active. We had knockings in the walls, things like that. And my older brother, he would sleepwalk at night. My parents were worried about him. And I remember being a little kid and I didn't know what was happening. Well, he said when he would wake in the morning that he would see this kid in the room coming out to play with him from the closet. The kid was like a light green color, and so he would interact, engage, and play with this kid. Well, my parents were worried if he needed psychological help. Well, our landlady, her name was Mrs. Whitehead, and this is a long time ago, but back in the day, she was like over 100. And she told my family the description that my older brother gave of that young boy that was trying to communicate with him, that fit the description of a young boy who used to be in that room before my family moved in. And that young boy, a few months before we moved in, he was killed by a semi-truck on the highway in front of the house in question.
No. That's so sad. That is so crazy as well. Yeah. You said he was green. Was that like an aura, or is that...
Well, when you talk about stuff like that, when we talk about things like orbs, they have what we call a signature, and that is a color. Green is not a bad color to have. Since the young man died at a young age, as a young kid, they always go into the light. It's interesting he had the ability to come back, but he was probably communicating with my older brother because he's trying to either get him to give a message or something. It sounds like that spirit probably had unfinished business on this side of what we don't know.
When you say colors, can you give me a little more background on that? Is there, like you said, green is good?
Yeah, when you talk about orbs and stuff, there's some dispute amongst people on, what different colors mean when you talk about spirits. The best thing to say is just know that an orb is part of phenomena that spirits take on when they cross what we call the veil. The veil is a separation between this world and the spirit world, and it's there because without it, you'd have chaos. And on things like the High Holy Day, what we call Samhain, that is when the veil's thin and you have more connection with spirits from the other side and this. But for example, to touch on it, general interpretations are like a white or silver orb. It represents purity and protection. Blue orbs or colors usually represent peace or sort of an angelic presence. Green represents healing or a nature spirit. Remember, this boy was taking on a green color, so it's really a spirit of healing.
Okay.
I know he died tragically, but I believe his spirit's coming back to give a sense of newness or hope. Yellow or gold, it represents wisdom. If you get into things like purple or a violet color, it represents transformation. A spirit or a soul's transformed as it crosses the veil. Red and orange, they can represent passion or anger, and they also can represent protective spirits. When you get into dark colors like black, it can represent negative energy or earthbound souls. I've only seen black orbs twice in my life, and they appear more in a dark metallic color, and it represents something happening real time. So when I see those, I usually step out of the way, because usually it signifies someone bad or something bad's coming your way right now. Wow. So it's a foreteller letting you know to take heed. So really look at orbs. They're a form a spirit takes, but they are portents, if you will, to warn us ahead of time to expect something.
Can you share a couple of your experiences that stood out to you a little bit?
Well, there's quite a few of them. I can tell you about Alcatraz Island, the prison complex out on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. That's very active. That's active with a lot of negative spirits. Obviously, that was a prison before. People at night there, I know they have an individual that stays the night over there when they close that park and the rangers leave for the day, and they hear knockings and yellings, gunshots. Very cold areas of the building out there at Alcatraz prison, and they feel overwhelmed and they see shadows. Shadows aren't uncommon. We modernized ourselves. Today we call them positive or negative energy. In the old days we called them demonic. They were known as demonic spirits. They move about in the place and they feed off of negative energy, fear, weakness, confusion. And the more we give of that, the stronger that spirit becomes. By the way, I would say one thing to those listening. I strongly recommend not playing around with what we call tools. Those are things like Ouija boards, tarot cards. Those all have their access points, and they are doorways. But are you able to close that door? And I know of people that couldn't close it. And, kind of my experience with that, I had very wonderful parents, but when I was a child, I was given an Ouija board, and I learned to write my letters and numbers from the Ouija board. I slept on the Ouija board. That was basically a little bed for me as a child. I had that Ouija board with me at all times. I remember very lucid dreams I would have, knocking sounds, so spirits were knocking on the board trying to get me to open the doorway. And it was communication from the other side, from the negative side, the demonic side.
So you got pretty good with using these tools, and you know how to use them. And exactly,
I know how to use them. I'll tell you, I was probably not even a teenager, and I could scry. Scrying is to look into mirrors or liquids and discern the future and to see things before they happen. You get what's called deja vu. Deja vu, I would have dreams about things before they happen. I still get those. And that's why you write down a dream journal, because things are going to happen. You can see that in a dream journal. And then mirrors, that gets into deep magic. Mirrors are used as a vortex to communicate with the other side. We put mirrors to mirror, and in the middle of those, you would use it as a vortex to call the spirits. I don't recommend people do that because it's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So again, I want the listeners to be cautious with that. Now, I want to be really blunt with this. I am fully versed knowing what we call the dark side of the craft. I do not practice it, and I warn people against it. I'm on the good side of things, so I don't want people to be seduced when you hear these things, thinking it's fun and games, because you can lose your life doing this type of stuff.
On that note, has there ever been an incident that it's gotten that far?
Yes.
That you can can you elaborate on it? If not, that's fine.
You're good. I don't mind. It's an open forum. Okay. I've had a good friend that I lost, who passed away and stuff. We've had things that happened. My older brother, to use him as an example, he also does this type of thing. Now, he is different than me. He's called marked. Marked is someone that's crossed the veil. They've crossed from this life to the spirit realm, but he came back. I have the ability as an empath. An empath is someone that senses deep emotion. So I can sense or feel the spirits. My older brother, even since he was young, he can see them. I don't have that ability. But, I'll tell you a story. It's kind of personal. But my older brother, just before COVID, it's 2019, his wife was away. I was calling. He didn't answer. So I went to see what was going on. When I went over there, I found him basically dying. I had to revive him, do CPR and stuff. His eyes were rolling in the back of his head. And when the medics came, I heard them say as they were leaving, "Oh, yeah, hey, the family, so don't say anything. He's not going to make it." And so he did make it, but I remember in the hospital, when I went there, they had me by the bed, and the ER doctor, they called a specialist in, so it's not just an ER physician. It's a specialist that trains ER doctors, a very versed doctor. And he said he couldn't call it. He said, my brother the vitals are off the chart, couldn't call it. And he asked me to come over there. And so I kind of knew my brother's in a place called the in-between. It's as you exit your body, you go from this world to the next. So I told the doctor, "Doc, is it okay if I spoke to him? I might be kind of loud." The doctor said, "Sure, go ahead." So I called him back. I spoke really loud and I said, "You see the river, you see the trees, I want you to follow my voice." And I guided him back. And the doc's like, I'm not controlling this. He couldn't believe it. And he says, "Your brother's back. I can see his vitals and stuff." And so he told the nurses at the time, who were trying to assist, he wanted all four of them to step out of the way. He said, "I want you all to get out of the way." He had me hold my older brother's hand and guide him back. And that's a doctor asking me. So everyone in the ER was quiet. There was an individual near us, a prisoner that was brought in, having to be restrained. And he heard me speak to my brother, and the whole place was quiet. But my brother had a near-death experience, and he talked about stuff he saw on the other side. So now, if there's connection with spirits, the spirits will always say stuff like, "You'll die again," or "We see you as you saw us." So they treat him differently because he crossed the veil. And, once you come back, again, the spirits see you and treat you differently than those of us who have not crossed yet.
Oh, wow. Is that to you, like, now knowing all this knowledge and then using it, do you feel like you have other special senses that you can feel, like an ability with things of the paranormal or on the other side?
So, if you want to push the envelope, I can tell you, I took a group of people out on a tour, and there was a guy on the tour. He was a physicist. He's a very smart individual, but he kept interrupting, saying this and that, and he was going out of his way to, like, sabotage. And I kept thinking, what's going on here? Don't you, go on the tour, have fun. I like to do just regular tours and have fun. I don't want to deep dive on a lot of the tours, but he kept going on and he kept challenging. I was like, well, what is going on with this guy? And he started to say things that were, what gives you the right, or what authority, because I kept, what authority do you speak with? And he was kind of going off because I was talking about spirits, how you can call with them and they come about. And so usually when you do these you go out at night, put it that way, that's what we call it, going out at night. Usually wear some kind of protective thing. Usually someone wears a cross. That night I was wearing a dragon medallion, and it celebrates Celtic history. We talk about the heritage of Celtic people. Well, he looked at that medallion differently because it turned out later he was a member of the Satanic Church. And he was saying stuff to me to challenge me. And so he goes, by what authority do you call the spirits? And so I told him, I said, by the authority of my ancestors and stuff. And I held that thing and he stood back. And his friends covered his mouth and they said, don't, because he was saying something to me like, what do you mean when you call the spirits? And he kept trying to interrupt. And I said, let's invoke them. And his friends grabbed his mouth because an invocation, someone died. And so when I said that, he was quiet. And so when I took him over, we were over in this bar area, he came up and he passed me a red card. It's not the first time I've seen this. But anyways, I took the card and looked at it. He said, I would ask you if you would join us. And it was membership in the Church of Satan.
Oh.
And I took the card and passed it back. And he says, you don't understand. No one turns that card back. And I said, I do. And he was floored because, technically you're supposed to die if that happened. But I passed that card back. And I told him, I don't bow the knee. And he knew what I meant by that.
Yeah.
So his whole tone with me changed because he knew, you speak in authority about these things. And I told him. And by the way, I happen to know individuals and that he knew of. And I said, you tell so-and-so that I said hi. And I said, by the way, and he said, I can't do that. And I said, deliver them that message. And you tell them, Eli, Ghost Man, is telling them they're on the wrong side. And he was like, I can't do that. I said, I'm telling you to do it. And he looked really shaken because he didn't want to mess with me. But he ended up leaving, and I just wished him the best luck. I never saw the guy again, but I wonder if he delivered that message.
Yeah. Can you let us know?
So with the ghost tours we do, a lot of us call them walkabouts, but there are places like in town, we have the famous Gunter Hotel. Gunter Hotel is a place where in room 414 in 1936, Robert Johnson, the man who so-called sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads, records his first album. And in 1938 he's going to die, and so a lot of musicians still go to the 414. John Cougar Mellencamp in 2009 records a full album there. A lot of musicians go there. They want some of that energy or magic, if you will, to rub off on them for their careers. And a lot of new groups being just signed, they're going to fly out to LA, they're going to go to Vegas, they'll go into Nashville. They will go in there to communicate with the spirits and to have them bless their undertakings and the music they're recording. But that's at the famous Gunter Hotel. And the Gunter Hotel, by the way, if you go there, that's the only suite on the 4th floor. It's called 414. But a lot of big wigs in the music industry goes there. A lot of big individuals doing this type of stuff that are in the recording business, etc., musicians, and they talk about all kinds of things that go on there. And, I'll be really blunt. I talk to musicians and I ask them, is there a rite of passage? And they say yes. And I will say to them, what do you ask? And they said, you will go nowhere in the industry unless you bow to the devil. And I'm talking to musicians, and these people are well off, very successful individuals, and I will ask them, do you have peace? And they'll say no.
I guess that's why our band never went nowhere, because I don't go to the devil.
Because I'm telling you, you go nowhere unless you bow the knee. And I don't bow the knee, but I know people who have, and either they're not with us anymore or their lives are in chaos. But they're financially successful.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
414, and you can go there.
No, but no bending knees.
You'll feel a connection. You'll feel a connection with him. People try to call his spirit and all that stuff. He's there. We've felt his presence. We've heard voices and communication.
Wow.
And when we called to Robert Johnson, we heard a voice say, am I dead?
Wow, that's crazy.
He did die suddenly, though. He died in 1938. We don't know if he was poisoned. We don't know how, but he died suddenly and roughly. And so there's a lot of open-ended questions on how Robert Johnson passed. We just don't know on that. My suspicion is it's possible. It also is possible that someone that was jealous had poisoned him. Yes. And quite frankly, to be honest with you, once you bow the knee, if he bowed the knee, we just don't know, but if he did, there comes a time when you're called. And when you bow the knee, you are required to recruit others. You actually have a quota. You have to recruit constantly, and if you don't, you're taken. And I don't know if that happened, if that's what happened to him. Trust me.
I'm very curious. There's a place that's really close by where I work. I may have discussed it when we were texting. It was the old Alamo Street Theater. Do you have any experiences there, or that's just something that I wanted to ask about?
Out of curiosity, what is your connection to that place?
I'm doing a daily walk now, and when I do it at work, this is a place that I pass by like almost daily when I'm doing my walk, and it just brought back curiosity. We were supposed to have an interview when it was Frank's Gourmet Hot Dog, but they moved on.
Well, it's kind of unusual out of all the people you would contact, because that is right over where I live.
Oh, wow.
That is literally on the back street. That's an old, we refer to it as the church. That was built in 1912. It's an old Methodist church. We always say what something is, it always is.
Yes.
That church would close down, I believe it was in the 60s or 70s. Then it was abandoned I think it was abandoned from 68 to 76, but then it became like a dinner theater, and that didn't make a go of it. And then Frank's came in. There is activity there, but remember that place was a church.
Yes.
You can feel the energy there. That area is very active. You may not know, but when you walk around there's a lot of tunnels underneath the ground there. A lot of the old German merchants used to store stuff there under their houses, and there's a lot of history there. So at that Methodist church, that's what I call it. That's originally what it was.
Yes.
I always think of it as is. There are spirits there. One is, it looks like a man that manifests and is dressed sort of like in a Sunday suit, and his apparitions last for like 3 to 5 seconds. It doesn't seem too long, but if you count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, that's pretty long. So when people see that, I don't know, 20 minutes, well, it's probably 5 seconds, but they'll see an apparition of a man or a woman. There's stories of a woman named Margaret there, and supposedly she was an individual that had some vaudeville experience back in the day, and she becomes sort of she appears there telling people shh, or like people hear something behind them when they're talking during one of these shows. There's stories of a young boy that's seen running around or causing mischief. They call him Little Eddie. They brought a prop in, an old like wicker type wheelchair, and he's associated with it. That's a spirit that's connected. But remember, this place was at one time a church.
Yes.
Once a church, always a church. That ground will always be blessed. But you probably get spirits that are attached, people that passed, that were involved in the building. If a spirit is able to come back, that would be a place for it to come back through, and something we call a vortex. But the spirits are not negative. I've gone by there too, and I can feel them. And I kind of raise, I probably shouldn't do this, but I've walked past there probably in the last week, and I do what we call speaking to the wind, and I call them. And sure enough, after I called them, I was contacted that you guys want to do an interview, so they must have heard that call.
It's kind of creepy a little bit. I got a little chills there. That's awesome. All right, Eli, you had mentioned that you had some experience with UFOs as well.
So, I was born in Texas, in El Paso, Texas, but when I was really young, my dad worked for the government. We got moved around, but for a time we lived in Lincoln, Delaware, and that's when this old farmhouse was. It was called Whitehead Farm. And when we were there, we had activity. We would see lights in the sky at night. And again, I was a little, almost just a baby back then. But I remember seeing these lights in the sky, and we would find crop circles. So the house was surrounded by this tall corn. Corn was growing out there, and there was a man named Mr. Hardy, and he would go and plow all the corn and stuff. And he would find these burn marks on the ground. And I remember being a little baby, and we would go out to them, and they were circles, perfect circles, like something had landed there, and you could touch it, and it wasn't hot, but the ground was burned, and all of the grass was perfectly folded in, like someone raked from the middle inward. Yeah. And Dad didn't want us touching it, but we would find these things. Also, it's an old farmhouse, and we were in the middle of nowhere, so we didn't put curtains on the window, and you would feel like someone was watching. And so at night on the farm, it's pitch black outside, and there were things out there that would watch us, and we didn't feel that they were people. They just felt like others. And we used to have dogs, 7 dogs or more, and they would run free on the farm. And sometimes you would hear them whimpering at night. So something's out there. And these are big dogs. They're guard dogs. You would not want to be wandering out on that farm at night, because these dogs would bite you. But these dogs are whimpering and cowering and running away. So something's moving around out there. And we would hear knocking at the windows and things like that. But it was always outside the house. But yeah, we remember lights in the sky. I remember my older brother was having these visions, or we felt like we had visitations in the house at night, but we couldn't explain why. That was kind of some of my UFO experiences there. But yeah, we've had personal encounters. I remember being a little baby being put into my crib up in my parents' room. And I remember I didn't like it being dark in there because I didn't know how to explain it, but looking back now, there were things that would come around and watch me in the crib, and I don't have any other explanation for what they were other than to say they were shadows.
Whoa. Was that something that was often?
Yeah, it would happen often. A matter of fact, I used to like to sneak out of my crib and listen to my parents downstairs. And one day I snuck out of my crib, I fell and I broke my right collarbone.
Oh, no.
Now, I'm too young to speak of it. I don't even remember it. But I remember my dad only knew because he would hug me, and on the right side I would moan. And they took me to the doctor, and the doctor said he has a broken right collarbone, but because he's a baby, the bones are soft, so we can't fix it. The bone just naturally has to fuse together.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was injured, something leaning over the crib, touching me or something. I don't think it was my parents, but I think it was a way they communicated to my parents I needed help. But I remember crawling out of the crib because I think something was trying to get me to come out of the crib, and I followed it. But I have vague memory. Again, I was very young at that time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That was the only place that you had the experiences.
Whitehead Farm, but I will tell you, just throughout life, you can talk about being followed, seeing things in the sky. You know, again, they're the lights, they're orbs. And to be truthful, you know, when you use things, what's like ghost tubes, spirit thoughts, people like to download apps and stuff. Basically what those things are doing, they're surfing the AM frequency. Extraterrestrial hunters, they use that type of stuff, the AM frequency, and you get communications, voices, other things. But it's not uncommon. And, you know, I have friends that are in the military and things I probably shouldn't say, but a lot of that stuff's out there now. They talk about orbs, they talk about things out in the ocean moving around, things that are flying too fast for pilots to catch up on. So we know that there's another dimension to that stuff, and it does tie in with the paranormal. We just use different terminology. Just know they're unexplained phenomena, and that was just one UFO story I've had. You know?
Man, that's crazy. That's awesome. This is going to be a long shot. Any cryptid stories that you may have encountered or something that may stand out?
I can tell you, I remember being out in California as a kid again, and we were on a camping trip, and we felt like something big was watching us at night. Out there, they call him Sasquatch, things like that. You know, let me explain something with you about that, and I don't want this, well, what the heck, you know, I think your listeners would understand this. When you deal with stuff like what's known as Yeti, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, that type of entity is real, the Chupacabra is real. However, they come through what we call vortexes. They come and go. So they're entering and going from a different dimension. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, I've heard that before, especially about the Bigfoot.
That ties in. My great-grandmother was Chickasaw.
Yes.
A lot of that goes back to the old stories. They would talk about the watchers. They would watch. The Bigfoots have bad smells. That's how you could tell they're coming around. They were known as the furry people. Chupacabra. Let me explain something so we're clear on this. The stuff that comes through that we refer to as Bigfoot, the stuff that's Chupacabra, the stuff like that, that's demonic energy, and they come through what we call a doorway. It's a revolving door. That's why you don't always see them. Certain nights they're out more about than others because they're entering from what we call a vortex from their side of the other world to this. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. The only thing that was a little confusing there was Bigfoot. I always thought of him as docile or gentle. You said it was coming from like a demonic portal?
Correct. Native American culture refers to them as the watchers or the furry men, but they usually are forces for negative. They will make sounds. Trust me, if you hear one, you won't forget. But they will make sounds like a cackling out at night. They'll make hollers. Usually they avoid people. When there is encounter with people, they can be very direct. They're very strong. They will shove or throw a person. They have a lot of energy. But the experiences I know of them have always been more of the negative. And again, they're mostly associated with the demonic side of the craft, as we call it.
When you say negative, like what way? Because that's interesting.
So when we talk, for example, as human beings, we're in what's called the flesh, the body. And we have a right to be where we are on the earth. The earth has vortexes. We can't see them. They're in the spiritual sense. When you pass, you'll move through a vortex. It's a tunnel from this world to the next. Spirits will traverse back and forth. But the reason we can rebuke spirits on our side is because they don't have authority. We do. And so I tell people when there's demonic energy, you know, they ask me, please help us, this is going on, and they don't know how to handle the spirit. And so I show them how to rebuke the spirit, and you command it. And when you command the spirit, it obeys because you speak with authority. Never engage an entity in weakness. You engage an enemy with power. So when countering a spirit, you try to get its name, or I will command it. And, you know, I'll say, do you know the authority I command you, move. And they obey, and the spirits move out because you speak with authority. And the people were like, wow, how did you do that? But you never engage a spirit in weakness. That spirit can harm you badly. And that's where you get bite marks, claw marks. But again, they don't have authority on this side. We, on the other hand, once we cross what we call the veil is, if you're trying to command demonic energy, you don't have that authority. You might use spells and stuff. the authority is broken. So we have it here, but not on the other side because we're under spiritual control on that side of the dimension.
Eli, that is very interesting. Do you have any mummy stories?
You know what? How interesting. Out of curiosity, has anyone encountered that? Or
No, this is why I'm asking, because I knew you were gonna say, what are you talking about? But
well, because when you talk about mummies, it is a real deal. So when you talk about mummies, that touches on voodoo,
like curses.
Yeah. So let me put it here this way: there is a powder. It goes into Haitian witchcraft. Basically, it's a way that you can get someone's vitals to slow down to the point you think they're dead. That person will be buried and they end up coming back to life. They're known as basically the walking dead or a mummy. Again, that gets into the demonic realm. But that type of stuff, they're walkers, and they'll walk, or they'll be under the influence of a demonic spirit that takes over. But yeah, they are known as the walking dead, but that would be technically a mummy. Someone that died and they came out of the grave. That is a real phenomenon.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man, Eli, you want a shirt, because no one's ever had a mummy. I've heard of that powder. It was like, I thought it was like a zombification or powder or dust. I've heard of that, and I saw an old photo way back in the day, and I can't remember if it was a Haitian woman, but they took a picture of her in that state, and it was very, very creepy, man. And I know they had them go work on their plantations and stuff like that they had over there. So that's crazy, and I do believe that they do have practitioners of voodoo that do know how to make things of this nature. So that's super crazy.
Well, to be honest with you, that type of stuff happens here as well. But what goes on with that is that gets in the realm of magic. And that's in what we call black magic. And once someone dies or a sacrifice, soon after that, in a ritual, demonic spirit's called up to possess the body, and the demonic spirit will move in the body, and you will communicate that way. And that body, that spirit's left, but a demon now inhabits that body. Time frames of how long it can inhabit, I don't know. But that's a blasphemous side of the craft,
Yes.
and that's directly into Satanism.
Wow, that's super crazy. Do you have any events coming up?
I do tours, what are known as Ghost of Old San Antonio tour. We call it GOSA. I do a tour called Madams in Mayhem. I also do a drinking tour, and that is known as Death Warmed Over. It's a drinking tour here in San Antonio, and people are welcome to request me. My name's Eli. My older brother is Richard. He also does the same tours. Again, they're welcome to check us out at Ghost City Tours. And also, too, if people ever want to have more of a one-on-one or something, or they have questions and stuff, I'm always happy to do that for them as well. If they want more of a tailored tour, it's all good. You can contact me through Ghost City Tours. My name's Eli, or Ghost Man. My older brother, his name's Richard, or Ghostbuster. And we both do this type of thing. And so we're happy to take people out. Again, we're on the good side of this, folks. So I'm very familiar with what the other side does. I encourage people not to play with that stuff. And again, just to be brutally honest with your viewers, I know this is probably going to be put out there for Halloween, but remember, good's stronger than evil. I deal with the good, and I know the other side quite well. And, shadows run from the light. I guarantee that's 100% true.
Oh, that's an awesome quote like that. Eli, I can't even begin to thank you. You brought the heat, and these are great stories, and we would love to have you back and maybe talk about those drinking tours. That sounds very interesting. I appreciate it so much.
No, it's been great. I appreciate it. If you ever need someone to help answer questions, I'm here for that. Again, my specialties would be in the realms of magic, supernatural, even talking about UFO or unexplained phenomena. Again, I've done this for a lifetime, but at the end of the day, I do this as a resource because I want to make sure people are safe. And if I can help people be safe and to understand what they're encountering, that's why I do this.
Eli, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we can't wait to have you back.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Hey, you take good. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Man, a lot of good stuff.
It's weird, right? Because he knew a lot of shit. One of the things that kind of stays in the back of my mind is he was talking about the aura of different ghosts, like how they carry a certain color, and the one he spoke about was green, which he said was more of a positive color. He went through them all, like, was it like gold, and other ones they were like knowledge, and they just different things. And then when you get to the darker end of the spectrum, they're like more on the negative side. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying. If you see one that's kind of glowing, you're just like, man, what the shit?
Yeah.
Like, why did you pick that color? But I guess it's not up to them. You have to have all kinds of experience to know stuff like that. And I was just blown away with the UFO story, man. And the same farm where the ghost happened, I can understand, like, this is how we got started from the haunted house that we used to live in. So this guy's seen all kinds of stuff. But what really kind of made me wonder was when he was speaking about Bigfoot. I've heard that where it is interdimensional. Yeah, there you go. So that's why you never had to capture Bigfoot, because he can always outrun you. And he had mentioned that Bigfoot may be demonic, and that's kind of I'm not disputing the fact, but that's just weird. I just always, every time I see a Bigfoot, I always think of Harry and the Hendersons, Exactly. So that was kind of crazy. But even for him to bring the mummy story, for him to give us the explanation of curses and stuff like that, that's awesome.
He's got the sauce.
Yes, he did. Eli brought the heat. He really did. It was so awesome to hear everything he had to say. One thing that he really pushes is, honestly, I think we all in this family know this, not to play with tools. I know me and you, David, we never fucked around with the Ouija board but he's talking about everything. Tarot cards, all these other goodies that they have. And it's kind of cool that he does give you that, lets you know what you're doing. So this guy's a professional and stuff like that. But I think we've always said that, hey, just be careful what you do. One thing he kind of freaked me out on is the beginning of the interview, he did say, like, just be aware. And I think we know this also. Well, what we're doing even now can introduce anything into our house, whether we visit or we not. Thank God that we're real religious and we have our santitos and our relics. But that being said, he did kind of freak me out the first time. He says, like, well, just be aware that something could happen. And it kind of freaked me out, like, oh, what are you talking about? Because it brought me back to Sally's house when she was telling me the same thing. He said, no, nothing drastic, like your phone can cut off, something can malfunction on it, just different things. Oh, like, wow, that's good. Yeah, well, it's already a piece of shit, so
that's what it is, right?
But I mean, he was really, really knowledgeable about everything that he spoke of, and it was real entertaining just doing the interview itself. So thank you so much, brother. Man, you gave a good one.
Thank you, sir.
I was looking up those old commercials, and for some reason I had to watch it on the way to work, and I punched it in. The Yuck Mouth.
Yuck.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, because I'm a yuck mouth, because I don't brush. Hey, that's a cavity. You won't remember this yet. We were your age when this came. No, actually, we were like little guys. But yeah, it was in the 70s when you mentioned all those old commercials with the wise out with the lollipop and all that.
Tootsie Pop.
That shit. Yeah, it was the Tootsie Pop, bro. Yeah,
the Indian shooting the star.
Native American.
If you ever get a chance to look up the Yuck Mouth, the song is stupid, man. Yeah, but it's funny.
I remember the more common things like the Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh yeah.
The Bill.
The Bill. Yeah. Is it Randy Newman? What did Randy Newman? I always thought it was Randy Newman who did that.
It does sound like
it. Sounds like it.
Because it has a style of music and then it has his voice. Oh, the worst ones too is the after school programs.
Oh yes.
They were so stupid, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they were terrible, man.
And we would watch them as kids, but only to make fun of them. So it wasn't like they were teaching us anything.
Yeah, because it was so boring. God, it was so boring. But anyway.
That probably didn't have a lot of channels, right?
No, we had 3.
Yeah, 3 were the main ones.
Yeah, ABC, NBC, and CBS were them. And then we had, of course, PBS. But we never counted PBS or the Spanish channel.
Yeah, those were the first 3. And then, like, when the Mexican one came out, the Univision. And that just changed the whole. But I felt bad because you're here and like you only understand Spanish, so you had to watch whatever the fuck. It was always novelas, which are soap operas in Spanish. But most of those ones back there were pretty awesome, man. And it always had to do with people having affairs too, man. So,
Wait, do you remember when we lived at the old house and you kept waking up and you kept asking who kept putting on the Spanish channels?
Yeah, what happened with that?
I thought you were accusing Kory of putting like y'all kept saying
it was here. Yeah, it was. I turned around, I was like, who the fuck is watching the...
I was like, should I be worried, Kory? Because it was like in the middle of the night and they were like, who keeps putting on?
It was stripped out.
The TV was turning on its own or what?
Yeah, I mean...
Maybe someone was putting it on.
Yeah,
no, like you turn it on like every morning. Like when I turned on the movie, I was the first one up. And it was like Spanish. And then I was like, so I started thinking, if y'all ever remember the show called A La Cama, A la cama con Ponce, bum 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 bum. He's like my size, but he's huge, and he even dances. But like he's a fat guy, he can't really get down. He just kind of twirls his arms in a circle and shakes his hips. But they had like these scantily clad Brazilian women, man. So if you're watching that, Kory, I can understand, man. But no, every morning it was on that.
That
Guys.
specifically?
No. It was more like terrible news, like where they had like, you know, they're interviewing a lady with a chihuahua or something. No, but these guys will be the last to sleep, so they always watch cool shit. I know they're watching some kind of badass movie or something.
Sure.
No, y'all were. But when I got in the morning, I'm like, why the shit is it always on this? So I don't know.
Actually, have you guys seen the news on those channels? One time I got stuck on one of the channels and I was watching and they showed like some crazy shit.
The news is graphic, man.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty graphic.
Yeah, you know, and you'll see like blood and guts and stuff like that. You know, lady screaming and she's got blood on her hands and her, you know, her husband's shot. You know, his head, half his head.
Yeah, I think I saw like a body part or something fall out of a window and you can hear like the splat and shit.
Oh my god.
And then that
Start watching this.
No, but they're ruthless, man. The commentators, you know, lady's got blood on her hand and she's putting the mic in her face. So, you know, how do you feel? I mean, you know, what happened? How do you think this? Who do you think done this? And the lady's, you know, just like crazy shit.
What was it called? The people that dressed up the
furry?
furry.
Transferring?
Yeah,
So-
people are stupid.
Not if they believe it. They believe.
That's a trip, right? Like, so, okay, like let's say you work a regular 9 to 5 or whatever, 8 to 5, whatever it is, and you're tired. You want to go have a good weekend. You go fishing or you go drinking, you know, partying, barbecue. But some people got the plan. They planned out like, yeah, what are you gonna do this weekend? Oh, dude, we're going to barbecue. It's my granddaughter's birthday. We got a big thing. You? Bro, I'm going fishing and I'm gonna head out to the deep sea water, this and that, right? And then this you. Like, what about you, Rob? I'm gonna dress up like Bigfoot and roll around in the woods, you know, like, but that's actually planned. And, you know, people know you so long, they're just like, huh, okay, man, well, be careful, you know, just, you know, I am, you know, it's mating season, you know, it's just like, that's what I'm saying, is like to meticulously plan that out on the weekend, like, that's your plan. Okay, I gotta put gas. I gotta make sure. I gotta make sure you got plenty of provisions and like, damn it, I gotta brush off the fur and stuff like that. You know, just getting stuff ready.
Like, why is not like one night a year enough? Like for Halloween, like just dress up tonight as a furry.
I mean, I don't get it,
but what do you? I'm gonna be. What do you?
It's a free country.
I'm gonna be a goldfish, right? Like, you don't have to fit in that bowl, dude.
The way I see it, it's a free country. Do what you like, have your fun.
Oh,
but, like,
exactly. I'm just saying, like, it'd be interesting to see how they prepare for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but what if they got offended because you didn't talk to them as a dog and they're like, my pronouns are wolf wolf.
That's
Call me
different
wolf.
stuff. I mean, that's different.
But then you
those are
could be
ways.
like, hey, okay, I want to respect your wishes, but I mean, I don't know goldfish. What is that?
Well, guys, what do y'all think? Should we get into the next interview?
Let's get into that next one.
All right, so this is Candy from the Bell Witch Tours.
Hello, today we're here with Candy from Bell Witch Tours from Adam, Tennessee. Hello, Candy.
Hello.
I was gonna ask, what got you interested in the Bell Witch and what you're doing?
Well, as far as what got me interested in it, I was kind of thrown into it. I actually grew up hearing the story of the Bell Witch. My older brother and sister used to tease me that they were going to stick the Bell Witch on me, but when I was about 12 years old, my parents actually found the Bell Witch Cave Farm for sale. And they purchased it, and we moved there when I was 12, and that was in 1993. I started doing tours, and I got really interested in the story once we started learning about it. But as the years went on, my parents started doing more and more research, and we found out more and more about the story. And there was a lot of things at the beginning that we had wrong, that we told on tours that was absolutely not correct. But as time went on, we feel like we've got a pretty good grasp on the basics of the story according to their research and the books written by the descendants of the Bell Witch. And now the director of operations there at the cave, and I'm one of the owners of the business. And I run the day-to-day and do tours of the cave and cabin, and we also have farm tours that we do, and that's kind of my job description there, is taking care of all that.
Awesome. Can you give us a little history about the Bell Witch?
Well, it all started when the Bell family first moved here in 1804 from North Carolina. And for the first 13 years, things went really well for them. But then in 1817, they started having strange things happen. And it started out as like seeing strange animals around the farm and then tapping and knocking noises on the outside doors and windows of the house. And as time went on, this thing kept progressing and getting worse and worse until it started to become physical and got enough strength to talk, to where it could talk so loud it could be heard in every room of the house. And it would slap the kids, pull their hair, pinch them. And of course, with the talking aspect, they would ask it questions like who it was and why it was here. And of course, at first, this was kept secret, but then as time went on, the community knew about it and word spread all over. And people were coming from all over the world, actually, just to witness it. But then when they would ask it who it was and why it was here, it gave lots of identities of itself, which leaves it to nobody really knows who or what the Bell Witch really was. But then whenever she was asked why she was here, she always gave two reasons. One was to stop the daughter from getting married to a neighbor boy named Joshua Gardner, and the other was to kill John Bell. And both goals of the spirit was accomplished. Betsy did not marry Joshua Gardner. The spirit terrorized her until she finally broke off the engagement. And then John Bell died in 1820 of poisoning. And it has gone down in history as the only known case of the supernatural to ever kill a person. After his death, the spirit left and then came back in 1828 and made predictions to John Bell Jr. When I say predictions, she talked about a lot of things about the past and the present. I talked about the Civil War, the World Wars, and the fall of America. But then after these few months, she said she was leaving again and wasn't going to return for 107 years, which would have been 1935. And some people think that in 1935 that she returned, and some people think that she never really left. But then others say she didn't come back. But over the years, there's been so many strange and unexplainable things that's happened on and around the farm and in the cave that a lot of people believe that the spirit of the Bell Witch still resides there. And of course, it became known as the Bell Witch Cave.
Wow, that's so cool. You mentioned something about over the years. Has there been any kind of activity that's been going on recently near around the cave or on the Bell's farm?
Yes, we own half of the original property. The other half is still owned by the Bell family.
Wow.
We own the half with the cave on it, but there is a lot of paranormal activity that happens there. People have seen things, they've heard things, we get lots of weird pictures. And it's not just the cave or the cabin, which the cabin that we do tours of here is not the original cabin. It is a replica cabin that was built during the same time period and has the same layout as the original house. And it was built during the 1800s, but we moved it here. And even that has a lot of paranormal activity, along with the house on the property, even our gift shop, which was built maybe 30 years ago, has activity in it, but all over the property. So it's not just a cave. There's paranormal activity everywhere there.
Would you attribute that the gift shop just for being made on that land?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think anything on the property can have activity in it because, some of our barns on the property are about 100 years old or more.
Mm-hmm.
They've had activity, and of course the house on the property that was built, I think, in the 60s. It has activity. The gift shop, the concession stand, all of it.
Can you kind of fill us in on what some of those activities are and like which ones have the most activity on that property?
I would say the cave and actually my mom's house probably has the most activity, but a very, very close one would be the cabin that we moved there Sometimes people go into the cabin and start complaining about headaches or nausea and just feel really, really uncomfortable in there. But then other times you go in there and you don't feel the uncomfortable feeling. Then other times you go in there and you just feel scared, like something's watching over your shoulder or standing behind you. But as far as like different kinds of activity, we are coming up on a public paranormal investigation on Thursday night. And last year, the one that we had in October, there was actually something that really, really shocked me that happened. I had lit a coal lantern in the cabin. So we're talking a flame. And it went out, and then the paranormal investigator asked, can you light it back up? And as soon as she said that, it lit back up.
Oh, wow.
And I was just kind of like, my mouth dropped open, and I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. But we also had a laser grid set up, and you could see something moving through the laser grid, and then the K2s and the REM pods started going off on the other side of the room, as if something was moving across the room. People have seen things there, and even the nauseousness and dizziness, headaches, that happens in the cave as well. But the most common thing in the cave is to hear voices, especially in the back room of the cave. You get back there, and of course there's water running back there, but sometimes you hear it over the water. The water back there is running consistently, so whatever you hear should be consistent. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it'll just on top of the water, it'll be some really, really loud noises. I've even heard audible words back there, and times that I've heard what sounded like my mom bringing in another tour, which is like a big no-no because it's not very big back there. You don't take another group to the back room when there's one back there because it's too hard for them to cross each other.
Wow.
But there's been times I hear her and I'm like, why is she bringing another group back here? And she won't be there.
That is creepy. That's weird. And you say you had photos?
Body apparitions. We've gotten pictures where somebody's there when the picture's taken, but they don't show up in the picture. We've had massive orbs. And then where people will take a series of pictures, like they'll keep the camera still and take, let's say, 3 pictures back to back. The middle one might have something in it, but the other 2 don't. Not too long ago, I posted some of those weird pictures on our TikTok. What the story behind this was, on August 24th, I was doing a lantern tour. So I took this group back into the woods, and I told them, I was like, this area is the haunted dale, and weird things happen back here. I turned the golf cart off and turned the lights off, and I was talking to one of the other tour guides, and I could see them taking pictures behind me with the flash, and I turned, and when I did, I could see a man standing right beside the golf cart, and it was almost like he was looming over the customer. Well, I grabbed the flashlight and turned around, and when I did, there was nothing there.
Wow.
Well, all the next day, I was thinking about this, and I was like, I know I saw what I saw. Like, I could picture the outline of the face and all that. So, the next evening, I asked our paranormal investigators, I'm like, hey, do y'all want to go back down into the woods and see if we capture anything? And I went down there and started taking pictures. And I was taking them in a series of 3, and I caught something that looked like a misty object or form right beside our paranormal investigator. Wow. Now, he's about 6 foot tall, and this looked like it was like 2 feet taller than him.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, but the feeling down there that night actually made one of our other paranormal investigators sick. She was physically sick from it. She said the energy was just so strong down there that night.
Is that like a manifestation of a spirit, or is it more towards a demon?
No, I personally do not believe there is anything demonic there on the property. I feel like it's energy. As crazy as that might sound, sometimes you kind of like when you walk into a room and two people are talking or having a serious conversation or arguing, and when you walk in, you just kind of know you interrupted something. That really, really strong feeling of I'm not supposed to be in here.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. I get you.
It's like the feeling is strong like that. Like you just kind of know, like there's something here that don't want me here, or I'm not supposed to be here, or you get a creepy feeling. But sometimes that energy is so strong that it can give people headaches, dizziness, nauseous, and physically sick.
Wow, that's crazy. So, is there anything that you want to talk about? Something that happened to you personally?
I would say one of the weirdest things that ever happened, this was when I was a teenager. So it was back in the 90s. Me and my mom was in the cave breaking rocks, and I stopped for a minute to rest, and when I did, I could hear her like on down through the first hallway breaking rocks. But then I started hearing something down the second hallway, and it was just like rocks moving together, almost like somebody else was back there breaking rocks. And I stopped and I like looked, and it started getting closer, and I thought I should be able to see whatever's causing this, but it was almost like it was coming down the hallway really fast, but I couldn't physically see anything there. So I ran down to where my mom was, and then I was like, we got to get out of here. Somebody's in here. And she's like, but Candy, the gate was locked. How could somebody be in here? I'm like, Mom, somebody's in here. And I said, listen. And then she heard it, and then we both went running out of the cave. We locked the gate, and of course we talked for a little bit later. We went back in there, and the dog was with us, and the dog went around the corner halfway down the second hallway and was growling, and we like looked around the corner and we didn't see anything, but evidently the dog did, because his hair was standing up on his back. He was growling and showed his teeth, looking in the opposite direction of us.
Wow, that's crazy.
So that was a pretty weird experience. But one thing about the cave that a lot of people have heard about is taking rocks out of the cave. People come there and pick up a rock throughout the cave and take it home as a souvenir, but the problem with it is a lot of people mail the rocks back because they start having tremendous amounts of bad luck.
Wow.
We actually, in our gift shop, have an album full of letters where people have mailed rocks back with all the bad things that's happened to them, asking us to put the rock back in the cave.
Did you get any feedback? They're like, well, we put it back, and did they ever come back and say things had stopped after that?
There was one. It was actually funny. They found a penny at the entrance to the cave, and it was a wheat penny.
Wow.
They took it home, and when they got home, their freezer had stopped working and their washer had overflowed.
Oh.
Well, they immediately wrapped up the penny, put it in the envelope, and he took it to the post office and mailed it back to us. And then later we got another letter from him saying that when he got back from the post office from mailing the penny, the freezer just cut back on and they had fixed the washer.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty
And of course,
cool.
kind of the same thing. I remember every year up here in Adams, they have a Thrushman show. And there were some boys one time that rode down from the Thrushman show on their tractor, and one of them took a rock while they were in the cave. And when they got back up there, the tractor wouldn't start. And they're like, man, I told you, go put the rock back. So he walked back down to the cave to put the rock back, and while he was gone, the tractor started.
Oh, that's really crazy. On something like that, do you just get used to these things as time goes on?
Well, for the most part, I get used to it, but it's still surprising, I guess you could say shocking, whenever something happens, because we go through the day going about normal day-to-day work, and a lot of times it's when you least expect it. Like something weird will happen when you're not even thinking about it. So it's just kind of like, okay, that was weird. But for the most part, because of the property, we have a lot of trouble with people trying to sneak into the property.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes, like when you hear a noise thinking, okay, somebody just walked up on the pavilion, and then you go out there, nobody's there, you automatically go to somebody's out here that shouldn't be. But then when you go to look around and investigate it, you're just kind of like, okay, nobody's there. That was weird. And then you kind of go back to your day. But, I mean, sometimes things do shake you up and it stays on your mind for a long time. But for the most part, you do get used to it.
Candy, that sounds amazing. I don't know how you do it. Really, I don't think I can do it every day. Just hearing some of the stories that we hear, they're super awesome, but I just hear it and I'm able to shut off my laptop and then go do what I gotta do. But you guys who are there, I have no idea how y'all could do that. Very brave.
Thank you.
I sure do appreciate you sharing the Bell Witch story. It's an awesome story. I know a lot of folks, like I was telling my grandkids, because they don't know nothing about that, and they were kind of freaking out. My daughter does, and some of my other kids, because they're all into paranormal, but this is just such an awesome story. Do you want to give us a little bit of info on any upcoming events that you may have, or anything that's going on in Adams, Tennessee?
Well, yeah. As far as the town of Adams, they have the Bell Witch Festival every year with the plays of Smoke and Spirit, which is a play about the Bell Witch. But us personally, we have a lot going on this month. We have lantern tours available on Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday through October. And then we also have a public paranormal investigation this month. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, we have extended hours for the cave. We're open till midnight. And we also have the Witch's Dale Haunted Hayride for those people that like jump scares. And that will be all throughout the month, every Friday and Saturday. But the cave has extended hours, so we're open till midnight. So if you want to come up there in the evening and go on a tour of the cave, you can. And the beginning of November 8th, we're having our November public paranormal investigation. I highly recommend those because it seems like a lot of people experience things on those. And starting this year, we are also offering private paranormal investigations.
Sounds so awesome. Again, Candy, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. And I hope to hear from you again very soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Candy. Have a good night.
You too.
Man, I love doing these things. Seriously, man. I meet so many cool people, man. And Candy came through for sure.
On Halloween?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
She owns half the property, and she's got the cave on her side and the house. I mean, we all know the story about the Bell family. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have started so early, man. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's just weird though because these hauntings happened a long time ago, like 1880s.
It sounds like
It comes in one day, they're hearing the talking and stuff. This is a ghost that actually talks, and it's not only talking, it's loud. You know, like people in the other room can hear it talking. You know, it's just weird. And then it just goes progressively bad from there. It does. So it's just an awesome story because the last I had heard was she was saying how it'll be back in like 7 years and then 105 or 7 years after that. I can't remember. And they think that both times it really did. And then after that, like how she's saying that there's other haunts that are happening there. I don't know if it's a Bell Witch coming back or if it's just something that, you know, like, you know, when once something gets haunted, like, you know, it could become even, I don't know, it's just weird. Yeah, it's just weird. But, man, Candy did bring the heat on that one. That was actually really good historical telling of the Bell Witch. Thank you so much, Candy. Thank you.
Well, I remember I used to collect scorpions when I was a kid.
Oh, did you put them in that? Like, it's not sap or what was it?
No, it was in the. Well, I did that too, but there was like a tub, like a 1 gallon tub, and like I had a whole bunch of them in there. And I forgot about them. I never fed them or anything. I came back like, I don't know, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks.
Jeez.
Something like that. And I came back and there was only 2 of them left. One had the claws that was eating the other scorpion.
Oh, wow.
So it was just one survivor, man. So I had like something like between 12 and 15
I
horses.
don't know what you would do with those. Yeah, they look like those. What are those dried shrimp in the package?
No, they were gone. There wasn't even anything left in there because they ate each other, all of them.
Man, that must be messed up, man. You got like 2 brothers or 2 sisters. I don't know what to do this, man. I'm hungry. And both of them just playing that tail sword fight. Does it make that noise for real? Just a no. How does it sound?
Oh my gosh.
Y'all remember that time when that one reporter had to get that story, and it was live. It's been on YouTube also. There was a lady, she divorced her husband and she got with another guy. The guy, supposedly, they thought he was molesting the daughter. The real dad got pissed off and the daughter wound up killing herself.
Oh, shoot. The kid did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this is on Univision also. This is like in the early 90s because she's like in a shitty Firebird. Well, back then it was badass because it was brand new, but it's all 6-cylinder. Anyway, so she rolls up. And she's in the car, and the husband, he's there, and he's crying, but the reporter's there, and he's telling her, like, what's going on. So the lady's waiting in the car, she's watching her ex-husband, so he gets up, and he just takes off, right? So she gets down, and she's walking. She looks real cold, too. She's not crying, nothing. But, man, that fucking ruthless reporter just has a mic, you know, telling her, like, is this true what happened? And she's not saying nothing. There's a cameraman, too, right behind her, so, man... You just hear pop, pop, pop. Like the guy runs behind her and points a gun at the back of her head, the husband. He shoots her 3 times. Oh, and the lady, she's like, ay. Like, she's not one getting shot, the reporter. Oh. Like the one who got shot just dropped. So they turn around, the camera guy, if you watch the footage they had back then, they turn around and you can see the guy standing over and he's just emptying the clip. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, what the fuck?
And they aired that?
Yeah.
I gotta check that out, man.
That's freaky.
I just got introduced to something called a ratchet belt. And I'm like, dude, you must be a real big guy to have a ratchet belt.
Ratchet belt?
That's what it's called. And all you do is you just pull the thing and it doesn't have like teeth where the cat, like you just pull it and it stays on. And that guy was bragging, yo, look, I got it. At first he said it was a tactical belt. I said, what? And he goes, no, it's a ratchet belt. It looked good, funny. So I may look into getting one.
It does actually kind of sound interesting. That and Velcro shoes. You're gonna look all jacked up by the time you get out the house.
Coach, that's he just gave up right there, man.
Okay, looks like we're getting to the end of the show today, and hope you guys are enjoying your Christmas. Just kidding. Your Halloween. We'd like to give a really special thanks to Eli for partaking in our festivities here. If you want to go check them out, you can visit GoCityTours.com, which is actually available in, man, they got a lot of locations.
Yeah, it's nationwide.
Throughout the U.S., so that's pretty cool. But if you are in San Antonio, you can ask for Eli. And then also, same thing with Candy, with Bell Witch. It looks like Bell Witch Cave online at least, so Bell Witch Cave. So if you want to visit that, you can go to bellwitchcave.com, and same thing there. You got Candy. They do a bunch of tours. They do all kinds of different things there. So special thanks to both of them.
And if you guys enjoyed this, give it a like, give it a share, share it with your friends, your neighbors, your dog, comment, subscribe, whatever media you're on. Just interact with us, please. We're lonely.
We need stories too.
Definitely send some in, please.
Yes,
always appreciate you guys. We'll only make fun of some of you.
Yeah, not all of you.
All the sexual encounters seem to really make...
Thank y'all so much, and also you can check us out on rigormortisparanormal.com, and we're on all the
platforms.
Platforms.
On Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Stitcher Radio. That's the thing, right?
Well, it's gone now.
Stitcher's gone, but yeah, YouTube,
Facebook, Instagram. Well, I think we post our episodes on there, but you can follow us on there.
Thank you guys, and hope y'all are having a great night and a safe night too.
Yeah.
Check your candy.
Thank you guys, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
You alright, Rob?
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
Bigfoot over there is stumbling around.
Bigfoot trying to wash dishes. Just throwing shit.
Just play different roles. Get that away from there.
Beer spill alert.
Sorry.
I'm got it.